It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Cold.
Very cold.
Doing well.
How cold is it?
Really cold.
I have penguins hanging out in the backyard.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't think of anything. That's what you get.
In the skate park, you mean?
I'm sure if I went out there, there's people back there right now.
It's so cold, my backyard is full of blank. Boom, boom, ba-da-doom, boom, ba-doom. Sorry. Sorry.
No, you're not.
Nor should you
No,
be.
I'm not. I hope everybody's doing okay out there. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, I know you guys are going to go, as soon as I say it, but I don't really have anything this week.
And here we go for the next 6 hours.
Right. I don't know. I don't know what happened to last week. That sounds bad. I don't even think we recorded late, so it's kind of like I had a whole week.
2 weeks in a row we're on time. It's got to be a record.
Right?
Oh, now that you said something.
Right? I'm going to break my leg. Thanks, Mike.
I did not mention the Scottish play.
But yeah, I guess it's been kind of quiet, and I liked that. So I don't even think I have I know I've watched a lot of YouTube, but I don't even know why I watch half the stuff I do over there. But yeah, that's about it. Big nothing from me.
Okay.
I was going to say, for real.
I don't even know how to react to that. Hell, I'm not ready. I usually have 20 minutes to research while I'm waiting here. Oh, dang. I can't say, unfortunately, a hell of a lot more, but because I didn't get really that much accomplished either. I have started prepping. We have a string of movies coming up that we're going to talk about, and I've started prepping for that. So that usually takes up a lot of my time when it happens.
Yeah.
And functioning on not enough sleep for a lot of the time also tends to suck time away because things take longer. But, what are you going to do? We're planning stuff. We got plans out the wazoo. We just haven't executed any of them yet. So, we'll get there. We'll do fun stuff at some point.
Are you going to ask your son, are we having fun yet?
I could, but I don't think he's having fun right now. I mean, he probably will tomorrow because, snow day and all. But we weren't kidding about the cold thing, people. We're in Texas and it's 20 degrees. This is cold for us.
With sleet and freezing rain.
No. Say it right. Thundersleet.
Boom, boom.
You've been Thundersleet.
Boom, boom. Anyway. Thundersleet. That's because
I had never heard that till today.
That's because we're not allowed to have real winter precipitation in this part of the country.
Oh. Well, and the thing is he was like, there's going to be lightning in this, so it's Thundersleet. And it's like, well, why isn't it called lightning sleet? I mean, yeah, they are two different things, right?
Sure, why not?
Right.
Depends on how you look at it, but
Like the weathermen ain't confusing enough.
No one said that, Liz.
they're guessing the best they can. Admittedly, they're way better at it than we are.
Yeah.
I mean, I
At
could walk
guessing?
outside and tell, yeah, at guessing about the weather. I mean, I can walk outside and tell you it's damn cold right now, but that doesn't help you tomorrow.
Yeah. But it will. It's going to be cold tomorrow.
But we don't know that. It could be 70. This is Texas, man. It could be 70 degrees tomorrow.
True.
No, what's crazy about people who don't live in Texas, right now, well, this afternoon in Amarillo, it was 15 degrees. Okay? And you get down to the northern part of Texas or mid part of Texas, we were at about 29. Brownsville, Texas, 80 degrees. Yeah. So it's like, damn, pick a season. We've got them all.
Yeah, the problem is that E is always all of the above,
Right.
and that's what we pick most of the time.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like they're getting any rain or nothing. Just a nice sunny day.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if it's any consolation, they are in a desert. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Well,
that's
they're
like,
by the coast.
yeah, but you can have a desert by the coast. It's perfectly
Yeah.
okay. But the desert goes a couple 100 miles inland and cuts down into Mexico, and it's a desert. And
True.
we also have mountains, and we have plains, and we have low-lying
We have
forested
mountains.
areas.
Where do we have mountains?
Big Bend.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There.
I'm saying I have to leave the state from.
No, the problem is that the mountains out of state are closer to you than the mountains in the state. That's the problem.
True. Yep.
Jesus Christ, we're old. We're talking about the weather.
Right.
Les, please save us.
Okay, let's go with what we talked before, the podcast, and that is I've never had a snow day. We didn't have snow days.
Did they even have snow back then? Had it been invented yet?
Mm.
And that's it for me, folks. Good night, all. Be sure
They
to
couldn't.
tip your waitress.
Communicating was harder back then. I mean, I guess they had TV and radio and shit like that, but they didn't make as big a deal out of it, I guess. I don't know. You tell me. But now it's all about safety and shit, and that was the thing that nobody cared about 50 years ago.
We didn't give a fuck about our kids.
we just sent them outside for the day, you know?
It's a blizzard. Walk to school.
Whatever.
Uphill.
It'll be fine. Wear a hat. It's cool. Get out there.
Make sure to take your lead thermos with you.
Fuck out of my house. I got soap operas to watch. God damn it.
On the radio.
Where do you think soap operas started? I mean, damn.
Right?
For real.
Yep. Lucy went from radio to TV.
Lucy was a soap opera?
I think Days of Our Lives. Was it Days of Our Lives started on the
Was it?
radio? One of them.
Yeah.
One of the original ones. I mean, obviously original. That's what that word means.
Say I didn't.
Yep.
Radio soap opera.
She's Googling it.
And the screen just went black. It's like, nope.
Google says, nope, too old.
We ain't doing this today. See, they had quite a few in 1939, 38, 36. Why didn't they put this in yearly or... Oh, okay. It's in alphabetical.
Wow.
I don't see any. Yeah, I don't see any that I'm familiar with, like Young and the Restless or.
Guiding Light was 1937.
There you go.
See, is that even on this list? What the hell am I looking? Oh, okay, it is on here.
You can put the list in date order by began.
Click on the
There
date
we go.
button.
So it started in 1929. There we go.
Damn.
And actually, Days of Our Lives just left TV like maybe a month ago.
To go to streaming.
Yeah, it's on streaming, but it's the first time it's not been on since it started,
Right, since TV was invented, basically. Or since they started broadcasting.
Yeah, the first soap opera was called the Goldbergs, and that was 1929. But Guiding Light's like one of those that actually was been around within the last 20, 30 years, something like that.
Right. It may be going on now, but...
Yeah, it may be, because I don't know. Only ones I can think of was Days of Our Lives and General Hospital. The original ones I can think of that are still have been around within the last several years or so. I can't think of any others that have been around.
That were that old.
Well, they're pretty old and they're still around. I don't know because I mean they've kind of moved away to talk shows or that kind of thing now.
General Hospital beat Days of Our Lives on air in 1963, and Days of Our Lives was 1965.
So, still 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right around there.
Yep.
I'm sure so.
See, Liz,
Okay.
This is what happens when you don't have something to talk about. We start talking about weather and soap operas.
Soap operas.
Okay, I've got to question this. I got to question this list now. This chart, list of radio soap operas. Guess what is listed on this list? Let me pull it up again.
Fibber, McGee, and Molly.
Close.
Foreman Scotty.
Perry Mason.
Oh, I'll buy that. I mean,
It's
soap
as a
opera is a
soap opera?
stretch, but
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's a drama.
It's
Yes.
well, I mean, it's a drama. It's a crime, whatever you call it. But I don't.
I don't
Yeah,
know that I would've thought of it
1943.
I could see it being a soap opera till it hit TV and they made it like,
Right.
what's the word I'm looking for? Episodic?
Yeah, it
So
might
they made it episodes.
it might have been a different format on radio
Yeah.
It had to be.
than we got with Raymond Burr in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. And the little interest that they hinted at on the TV show was probably more explained on the radio.
It would almost have to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, anything else, Les?
Don't
Like
laugh
that
at him.
was
He hadn't even
any
said
of
nothing
mine.
yet. Jeez.
Yeah.
The That's a morale booster right there. No. Other than that, no. Thank you, though.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Kind of like Mike. Only thing I've really been doing is kind of working on some of the films that we'll be talking here in the not too distant future. So nothing else really.
Right. We could tell you, but that would be spoiling things.
It's coming up soon enough anyway. So
That's no fun. Yeah, like
No spoilers.
next week, right? Yeah, like next week. So yeah.
You've waited.
Yeah.
You've waited this long. One more week, it's not going to hurt.
Damn. Okay.
Are you talking to us or the listening audience?
Yes.
Either way,
Yes.
ouch. I mean.
All right. You know what? Let's just go ahead and jump into our discussion. This should be fun. 45 years ago, was the first appearance of the Blues Brothers, the official. They actually showed up as, oh God, what was the name of the group? It was Howard. I think Howard Shore
and
and
his
the
All B Band.
All B Band. That's right. But in April of '78 is when the Blues Brothers in the suits and all that appeared on Saturday Night Live, and some great music. So that's why I wanted to kind of talk about. And of course, we'll talk about the movies and all that. But let's have some fun talking about the Blues Brothers. Did y'all see them when they first appeared? Well, obviously, Liz may have been a little.
Liz was 5.
5, yeah. Still,
I didn't. Christian family and all. We weren't allowed Saturday Night Live.
Also
Saturday night better be in your room praying.
Yeah, that's all well and good, but on her when she turned 6, she was dressed as Elwood Blues for the Halloween, cigarette and all.
No, but I did see the bee outfit researching this. I was digging the shorts for sure, but I've always I've always liked them two together though. Even outside of music, just the way they played off each other was always good.
Yeah. They were good together. They were. How about you, Mikey?
I didn't get the opportunity to watch Saturday Night Live much as a kid either, so I kind of found them later.
Yeah.
I trying to remember when I finally caught hold of the movie, because it would have been the movie that introduced me to them, and I would have gone back after that, found the rest. But
right.
I mean, I must have been in high school. It must have been high school.
Yeah.
I actually kind of think I didn't get it the first time I saw it, and then caught it again a few months later, and it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And the music, of course.
Oh yeah. I'm kind of like you. I was it was the movie that kind of introduced me to them, and I saw probably late 80s on cable, something like that. So I didn't see it on Saturday Night. I didn't really watch. Obviously, didn't watch Saturday Night Live until much later, when could actually understand the humor and all that. So, how about you, Les?
I remember seeing this. Of course, this is when Saturday Night Live was funny.
Mm-hmm.
They
Good
had
cast.
the standard cast, which was a great idea. The one I recall is when they had Garrett Morris introduce them, and the crowd just sat there quiet. They didn't know what was going on.
Like who?
Yeah. And then this was the opening of the TV show, when they would do something and then somebody would say live from Saturday night or live from NBC or whatever.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night.
Yeah. So that's when I recall it. And I thought it was great stuff. I thought it was well written, well performed, just well done. To have these two guys that you didn't know who they were, had no idea, but the characters came out. They did the whole routine of the lock on the briefcase, this, that, and the other. It was something different. It was fun, something really fun. And I thought it was very, very innovative. So, like I said, when this was funny, I think they did a tremendous job with it. And right then and there, I said, I want to see more of these guys. That's about it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You know, doing some background on this, it was kind of interesting to find out how. I mean, I figured Belushi was a fan of rock and roll, but did not know that much about blues until it was introduced to him around this time frame, and immediately just became obsessed with it. To the point, from what I would read, is whenever they would go to a bars, he would actually get up on the stage and sing with the band.
Uh-huh.
That's cool.
And of course, this type of act prompted others. Well, I wouldn't say as far as, but down to like Bruce Willis having his persona of, was it Bruno?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was fun.
It was fun. It was great music too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by far. That's something that at the time the public was not really aware of.
Yeah.
When I say the public of our age. Because this was in, what, 74, 75?
The Blues Brothers starting out was 78.
Yeah.
78.
Yeah. And we've mentioned the movie a couple times. That's such a great soundtrack.
Mm.
And the movie, it said it was released in 594 theaters, and it took in almost 5 million, ranking it the second for the week. Do you know what the first was?
Gone with the Wind.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh.
Yep.
That's a hell of a movie to come in second to.
It is, yep.
Hey, and that's kind of rare when you have an actor that's in the top 2 grossing films at the same time, because Carrie Fisher was in both movies.
Yes,
She was. Yep.
That's not something that happens often.
Mm-mm.
Were these characters not Second City characters that Aykroyd and Belushi did? Is that right, or am I
Sorry.
thinking incorrectly? Because they were both members of Second City.
I don't believe so, but that doesn't mean that. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're not right.
Well, right. And, I mean, the deal is that Aykroyd's love for the blues comes from, I mean, even before Second City. I mean, it was when he was in college, back in the real early 70s. And so there was probably something in the Second City stuff that if he could have slipped it in there, he would have. But I don't think he got Belushi into it until later. Oh, and by the way, we mentioned Howard Shore and his All Bee Band.
Mm-hmm.
That's because Howard Shore was the music director for Saturday Night Live at the time, right?
Right.
And yes, that is the same Howard Shore that went on to score the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
if you didn't think we were going to be able to make the connection between the Blues Brothers and Lord of the Rings, there it is.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
You say that with such triumph.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
It gets harder every week to make a Lord of the Rings reference, you know.
Go ahead. How does Jensen fit into this?
I'm still working him in.
Goes right around his birthday.
And you know, in the Supernatural, when they played detectives, I think they have used the Blue Brothers' names as who they are. So
As aliases.
yep.
Well, okay, I realize I'm asking. This is a loaded question, and I'm expecting a completely biased answer. But can Jensen sing?
Oh yeah.
All
He
right,
can
so
really-
let's get
yeah.
Jensen and Jared together, and we'll call up Dan Aykroyd, and we'll do a Blues Brothers reunion, and we'll have Jensen play Jake and Jared play Elwood.
I don't know if Jared can sing though.
You could argue that Aykroyd couldn't either, but I think he was actually better than he let on most of the time. But
Yeah, Jensen has a band. I think it's called the Radio Company. But almost at every convention that he makes an appearance at, they play a song. Because,
is this his K-pop band?
yeah, K-pop. No, it's usually like Leonard Skinner or Chicago, Journey, that kind of stuff. Kind of the same music they played on the show.
Cool.
Yeah, he's not bad. But he plays with God, and I Chuck Lorre, I think's his name, the guy who wrote Supernatural and was God in Supernatural. But he's pretty good on guitar, so they make a whole thing out of it.
As if on a mission from God.
Yeah. Sounded like an angel.
Are you a god?
No.
Then die. Might as well get a Ghostbuster reference.
You know,
Dude.
another Dan Aykroyd movie, so why not?
Mm-hmm.
Makes perfect sense.
I mean, if we want to keep stretching it, we might as well ask, what does God need with the starship?
Oh. That would
He
be a
likes
stretch.
cool toys too. Or was that a movie reference I didn't
What?
get? Oh.
What?
I said because he likes cool toys too. But I
No,
assumed
it
you guys were talking about a movie.
Star Trek V.
Okay. I thought you were talking like God.
Mm-mm.
Why would he need a starship? He likes to play.
I've got a question
Mm-hmm.
because I'm so confused. What the hell are you people talking about?
I was going to say, just a question. I have so many after that conversation.
We are in rare tangent form tonight. So anyway, yeah.
Wait,
So when
yeah.
so Howard Shore directing the Saturday Night Live band, which had some pretty damn good players in it by itself. But it was actually after Saturday Night Live that the band kind of took shape. After they brought in Paul Schaefer, who actually eventually took over the Saturday Night Live band at some point.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, he was just working with Belushi and Aykroyd and putting together the Blues Brothers band that we all know and love, which is basically what you might consider a murderer's row of studio musicians.
Oh, God, yes.
Including some of the guys who actually played the music that they played with the Blues Brothers band, as in recorded it years before. So, yeah, you get the likes of Steve Cropper and Duck Dunn, who were session musicians in Memphis for years and years and years. And so they played on about half of everything that came out of Memphis, which is remarkable to say the least. You get horn players, you like Lou Marini and Tom Malone, who had played with Blood, Sweat, and Tears back in the day, back when that was a thing. You get Matt Guitar Murphy, who was pretty much a legend on his own. And it's just crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a supergroup by any measure.
Yeah, it is.
So I mean, you got to think it's almost impossible for them to not do some amazing stuff, play some amazing music.
Yeah, exactly.
And they lived up to it. Every bit of it.
Later
I agree
on,
there.
I can't remember the other guy, but didn't Chris Farley also do kind of like a tribute to the Blues Brothers on Saturday Night Live? I know he looked up to Belushi, but
That would have been after I quit watching.
Yeah.
I think Farley was in the generation after I stopped watching Saturday Night Live.
yeah, I was more familiar with Farley's movies than his Saturday Night Live stuff. I could have sworn that he
I'm not
did,
sure
though.
I've ever seen a Chris Farley movie.
Oh, yeah?
Mm.
Yeah, him and
David
David
Spade.
Spade.
David Spade. Yep.
Before you pull some other name into this.
Yeah. I'll have to find it and see if I can post it, but I think he did. Maybe it was one of his movies.
You hadn't seen Tommy Boy
I have not.
with Dan Aykroyd?
Nope.
I'm not recalling it right now. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just don't remember it.
Yeah.
Man, the whole thing snowballed fast too, because they first appeared in their Blues Brothers form, and you said April.
It's like April of '78.
They released an album in '78.
Yeah.
So, they weren't messing around. They were playing live shows almost immediately,
Yeah.
too.
I just had that date. Let me see if I can find it again. Because it was like April 26th or something like that, 78. But yeah, then the movie was 80.
Yeah.
And then Blue She Was Gone in 82. So
Mm-hmm. Yep, they managed a studio album, the soundtrack to the film, and then a live album in that time. So 3 albums. 3 albums in basically 4 years.
yeah.
That's busy.
That's working at it, and that's while they're doing all this other stuff in their careers. They have careers while this is going on,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
April 22nd, 1978 was when they first appeared as truly the Blues Brothers. It was January 1776 as when they did it as Howard Shore and the R&B band. So,
and
yeah.
Briefcase Full of Blues was released on November 28th of '78. Same year.
Well,
It was
like
recorded
you
in
said,
September.
yeah, well, like you said, it was the band is comprised of all session musicians. So yeah, they got it.
Right.
Got
Mostly
pretty
they
damn
didn't even
quick.
have to learn the music. They knew it already.
They already knew it and knew how to do it.
And they had played together live and often enough to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Essentially the Briefcase Full of Blues it was recorded live. It was recorded at the Universal Amphitheater. When the band opened for comedian Steve Martin.
Wow, that must have been tough to do to get that pulled off.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it'd be fairly easy because they had a working relationship to begin with.
Fair enough. They knew. Aykroyd and Martin were 2 wild and crazy guys.
I was being sarcastic, but that's okay.
Okay, sorry.
Sarcastic. What does that mean again?
I don't know.
Void of humility.
Humility, isn't that the moisture in the air?
That's right. It's very humility today.
If Les wasn't sick of us before.
Okay, smart guys.
Liz is laughing because it ain't her for a change.
Right, so I'm just thinking, I jump in and help. I'm just glad it's not me right now.
Thing
What
is,
was your favorite
right.
song by them?
Oh, God.
Probably for me was their most popular, Soul Man. Do 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 do.
Another Sam and Dave, did he?
Mm-hmm.
But that sounds so good. How about Rubber Biscuit?
Biscuit.
I always liked Rubber Biscuit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm not saying that's the best. I'm just saying they had full catalog.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
See, I was always kind of partial. Well, if nothing else, I really liked the way it led off the soundtrack album. She Caught the Katy. It's just this great cold open song to stick on, and it was I believe it was a song that played through the opening credits in the movie too.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
It just to me it was just a great beginning. It's a great opening to the movie, and it just that kind of song, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with their version of Give Me Some Lovin' either, but yeah, my problem is narrowing it down.
As is mine. So many different ways to look at it.
And to spread the love around a little, another song off of that soundtrack album was basically the song that introduced me to swing with Minnie the Moocher
Mhm.
that they brought Cab Calloway in for.
Oh, yeah.
Probably his big song.
From at least 40 years before that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
Maybe 50. God, close to 50. That would have been really early 30s. I'd have to look it up. I don't even remember when that came out. But yeah, he and his band were big in like the late 20s and early 30s.
Yep.
So them bringing him into the movie was a huge callback and a huge win for them. I mean, how awesome would that have been?
Yeah.
Because he had a role in the movie. He wasn't just there to sing the one song and leave. He was in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes. And when I first saw him appear, I was stunned. Because knowing Calloway, I figured something was coming up that would really impress me. And it did.
Yep. Turn that song loose with that band. Holy moly. They sunk a little bit of production budget into that track too.
True.
Just a little bit. They busted out the costumes for that one and everything.
Yeah.
How about some of the actors in this film? Did any of them impress you?
It was a hell of a cast.
It is.
John Candy, Steven Spielberg, Twiggy.
Carrie Fisher, we mentioned before.
Yeah.
Ray Charles makes an appearance.
Aretha Franklin does as well.
Makes an appearance. You get Henry Gibson as the Nazi. That was fun.
Yes, that was a blast.
Just going to drop that in there with no comment.
Yeah.
Charles Napier was in there.
Steve Lawrence.
Mm-hmm. John Lee Hooker makes an appearance. A young Paul Rubens.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I had forgotten about that.
James Brown. Shaka Khan
Oh yeah, James Brown as the Reverend.
as the Reverend.
Yeah.
Shaka Khan was like the lead choir. Remember?
Yeah.
You get John. You talked about Steven Spielberg. John Landis also makes a cameo,
Oh, so does Frank Oz.
and Joe Walsh. Also, it's crazy how many people they got in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Kathleen Freeman played the Penguin.
Mhm.
That was another one that doesn't do anything bad. She's always.
Who, me?
You change your name to Kathleen Freeman?
No.
She was in a lot of the Jerry Lewis films as kind of. I don't want to say antagonist, but usually kind of at odds with him or his character.
Kind of the same way that, what's her name from the Marx Brothers movies? What was her name?
Dumont.
Yeah,
Was it Margaret Dumont?
Margaret Dumont. Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the movie's great.
The movie is just, yeah, it's just,
It's a blast.
it's a blast, and it's a spectacle, and and it's ultimately a car chase movie, which I don't know what that says about it, but what the hell? It's 106 miles to Chicago with half a tank of gas. No, wait, a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
Let's go. Mm-hmm. We play both here, country and western.
Oh, man.
Yes, them playing the theme to Rawhide was perfect.
Uh-huh. Clearly more than once, but whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah, they play it twice, and then they turn around and do "Stand by Your Man."
it's a very quotable movie, also, obviously.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind watching. It's been so long since I've seen that. I need to watch it again. It's been too long.
It has been a while.
But it is well worth the time.
Oh God, yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Is it really that long?
The movie?
133 minutes. I didn't realize it was.
I would believe that, really. It's almost a vignette movie. I mean, it's got several different little stories going on inside of it.
I don't know. It doesn't feel it. That's what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't feel it by any means.
Yeah, no, it moves. For it being that long, it moves.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning. It's just
If there are lulls, they are short, and the rest of the movie is moving. I mean, honestly, the car chase at the end is 20 minutes easy, and they destroyed a lot of cars in that sequence.
well, not only there, but also in them destroying the mall.
J.C. Penney.
The mall was great. That was greatness.
So.
And the line I always give my wife, you were already quoted, Thomas, and that was, we played both kinds of music here.
Mm-hmm.
That just angers the crap out of her. I go, hey, it's true.
So, well, definitely check out the film, but also check out the music, because the music is definitely worth your time.
Yep, there wouldn't have been a film without the music.
Right.
I mean, there might have been a different movie, but not this one for sure.
Right.
Let me ask you this: would you recommend the sequel?
I haven't watched it.
Um,
I
yeah. The sequel has some good parts. It's really hard. I mean, the sequel. I mean, like we mentioned before, Belushi died in '82. The sequel came out in 1998.
Huh?
It was not Aykroyd's first attempt at bringing the Blues Brothers back. None of them were really all that successful. The Blues Brothers 2000 movie has, like I said, it has some good moments. It has some good music in it for sure. I mean, which is not surprising.
True.
I'm not entirely sure I would recommend it. It's not really that good a movie. I guess if you're going to watch it for the Battle of the Bands at the end. Because holy shit, they managed to put together more of a super group than the Blues Brothers band. And then they all play together, which is interesting, but not as entertaining as the two bands facing off.
And I think Dan Aykroyd has done like guest appearances when Jim Belushi was doing his TV show. And I think they've done a couple of Blues Brothers things together too.
They have.
yeah.
They have. And they, and he did, I mean, he got John Goodman to do it for the 2000 movie, for the movie that came out in 98. It's confusing because it's called Blues Brothers 2000, but it came out in 98.
Kind of like Prince, who was going to party like it was 1999. You know,
In the early
something to
80s,
shoot
yeah.
for. Yeah, I guess you have to clarify that now, huh?
Yeah, the song is called 1999. It came out in like 82 or something like that. I don't know.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But he says like it's 1999.
Look into the future.
Yep.
I got to tell you. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, would you recommend it?
Personally, no. To me, it was just them trying to put a famous person on the screen, somebody that had just become famous. And to me, it wasn't worth it. So no, I would not recommend it. Personal opinion.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
I don't think I've seen the newer one.
Yeah, I know I hadn't. I've kind of stayed away from it because I was just afraid.
Well, you have an opinion of it as it is, of the original.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Dan and John were just they were magic together, and that magic's gone. It's really kind of hard put together with someone else. Now, I'm not saying they can come up with something that's comparable. I don't know. When I saw the trailers and I see the posters, and it's like, okay, well, we don't have Belushi there, but we got three other guys in his place. I'm like, you're taking three guys to replace Belushi. Okay. That was the impression I was given, and I was just like, I don't know. So, I mean, I'll definitely check out the music. The music's as great as the original film, then yeah.
The music, there's some good music in it for sure.
True.
Yeah, getting three guys to fill in. And given that one of them was a cute kid,
right?
They're reaching. Also, keep in mind that the original movie was a hard R.
True.
And there's a kid in the second one. It is not an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
So automatically you've got a different vibe.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is a different vibe. That's one of the reasons I think it's hard to recommend the movie, is because it's a different feel. It's kind of got the same adventure quality to it, and I mean, I think Goodman does all right. He does all right. I actually like Joe Morton in this movie quite a bit, but and Aykroyd is Aykroyd. I mean, he's playing an older Elwood. He does fine at that. I mean, it's almost like he invented the character or something, you know.
Hey. Yeah, I mean, I may check it out, but definitely check out the music.
Yep.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up and take a break?
I think we summed it up pretty well with check out the music.
Okay. There you go. We'll go do that, and we'll be right back with Geek News for You. And we're back. It's time for our Geek News for You segment. Here's where we bring a couple items to the table for discussion. This week it is Mikey and myself. And Mike, why don't you go ahead?
Okie dokie. So my article is I'm going to admit we sort of inadvertently cheated a little bit on this one. There was a big, huge thing in Geek News a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of hadn't talked about it yet, and now it's, well, to call it resolved might be a little premature, but there is something of a resolution at this point, so now we get to sort of look at the whole thing as a whole, which makes it somewhat easier for us. But since we did not mention D&D and their OGL explosion, we're bringing it up now, because now there's, like I said, sort of a thing. So the deal was, like 3 weeks ago or so, a leaked document from Wizards of the Coast got out into the public, and essentially it was a rewritten open gaming license. And what the OGL, the Open Game License, is it is the document, for lack of a better term, that was released back with third edition. I am kind of blanking on a date. I want to say around the year 2000, somewhere in that vicinity. It might have been a little before, it might have been a little after. That allowed writers and game publishers to use Dungeons and Dragons in their work, in their own work, so that they could create their own D&D supplements. And this was a big deal when it happened back then, because it hadn't been that way before, and everybody was scared. Because honestly, Wizards of the Coast had only just acquired the Dungeons and Dragons property. They had only just bought out TSR, and it was very weird. It was a very, very weird time for D&D, because nobody really knew what was going to happen with it, because D&D had been running itself into the ground for years before that. If you want to know more about that, there is a very nice book that just came out not too long ago called Slaying the Dragon by a guy named Ben Riggs, who is actually a podcaster also. Check that out if you want to know more about the collapse of TSR. But anyway, the deal was, the idea with the OGL was, okay, we're going to open up kind of the floodgates and let other people create stuff in the D&D world. And so this is where you get stuff like Pathfinder, and a laundry list of other D&D adjacent games. Pathfinder is a game that was created by a spin-off company. They originally spun off because they were publishing Dragon Magazine, which TSR published for years. And so then they used the core rules from the third edition D&D to create a new role-playing game, which was similar to D&D, obviously. And that's just like the biggest example. It created a cottage industry, essentially, the original OGL. Well, the alleged new OGL was essentially going to slam the door on all of that. It was going to completely invalidate the original OGL, and it was going to force some of those smaller companies I was talking about to basically pay Wizards of the Coast to use D&D properties in their work. And it was going to shut down basically any other use of the Dungeons and Dragons property. Needless to say, and you probably heard something about this somewhere along the line if you pay any attention to geek news, the community exploded in angry backlash. Anybody who had a voice, there are a ton of D&D YouTubers. There are a ton of actual play podcasts. There are tons of, publishers. From single person operations all the way up to something like Paizo, who does, like I said, Pathfinder, who employ hundreds of people or whatever. I don't know how many people they are, but they were all just like, oh my God, this is absolutely the worst thing ever. And were just screaming into the internet about it for days and days and days because Wizards of the Coast didn't respond for like a week and a half at all. It was just radio silence. And when they finally did say something, they were sort of half-heartedly making little concessions about it and going, oh yeah, it's not that big a deal, and we can play with the language on this, blah blah blah. And the flood of anger just kept coming and coming and coming until the other day, when Wizards of the Coast finally released a statement saying, okay, we're not going to change the OGL. This is not how this needs to happen. We will have to find a new way to handle this, and we're not right now. The OGL as it is stands, so they backed down based on what is honestly for the size of it, a very tight-knit community, completely and utterly revolting. I mean, Paizo went so far as to say, okay, hey, here's our OGL for our games, because they've done other games since then, and so they're like, shit, everybody can just use this. And other companies were doing the same kinds of things, and there was just this huge flow of stuff. And honestly, the funny thing is that since Wizards backed down, none of the other companies have like backed down on what they're doing. They're just like, no, keep going. Screw this. We're gonna keep the doors open. We're gonna keep this floodgate open so we can just build as much awesome gaming stuff as we can. And so
so this can't happen again. You know?
Right, exactly. So that none of this can be controlled by one source anymore.
Yeah.
It is effectively not a monopoly, and Wizards decided that they wanted it to be. And Wizards is owned by Hasbro, which is one of the biggest game companies in the world. So, yeah. How much of this was controlled by the creators of D&D, or the people who create D&D now,
who know nothing about it,
versus the people versus corporate people who are pulling their wallet strings. Who knows? But yeah, it was a big, loud, noisy deal there for a couple of weeks, and it.
Well, one of the hugest things about it, though, was not only were they taking the licensing back. It was pretty much, if you've made anything on this license and we like it, we own it.
Yes.
And that's what people were kind of like, whoa, no, you don't, bigger people, they probably could have handled that, but the smaller people who have spun off it, there's no way.
It would have
You know,
destroyed a lot
it
of
would
small
have.
companies. It really would
Yep.
have
Yeah.
destroyed completely.
And it's just wrong because when you originally made the game, you didn't have to worry about them coming in and going, oh, this is mine now, according to the license they had. So I like it because, like you said, so many people have come out now and was kind of like, fuck that, use this instead. We won't ever do that. And my whole thing when this blew up, when they first, was leaked and everything else, had Wizards of the Coast said, hey guys, we're really hurting right now and we need a little bit of you guys to help us. Maybe we can make some special t-shirts or some special dice. Don't you think the same community that yelled at them would have been the same community that would have helped them? But they didn't want to do that. So now
Because that's not what it was about.
Like,
See, the problem is
Yeah.
that in and of itself would also have been complete bullshit. Because, oh my God, Dungeons and Dragons is one of the most revered brands on the planet right now.
Yeah.
D&D has made such a huge resurgence in the last 10 years because of shit like this. And to tell me that Wizards of the Coast, which is owned by Monster Hasbro, is hurting? Oh, no.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that that's true. And
Yeah.
I think that's part of what the backlash was for, was because it's not like they need it. They don't need the money. That's not the point here.
They're just looking for more
Right.
to pad that bottom line that's already black,
Exactly. And that's
And
what pissed
control.
a lot of people off.
Yeah.
And control.
And even when they backpedaled and said, okay, yeah, we're not actually taking away anybody's content or anything like that, people were still like, nah, You seem to think you can, whether you want to or not. So fuck that noise.
Well, and I kind of compared this to the PayPal thing. When PayPal did the statement that they were going to start fining people for speech, and of course everyone got pissed off. You can't be the moral police. You're supposed to be a quiet third party, shut the hell up kind of thing. Well, once they found out everybody was pissed, it was kind of like, oops, our bad. We didn't really mean to do that. And that's kind of what Wizards had said now. Oops, our bad. But the damage is done.
Finally, right.
Because,
and the deal is it took them too damn long to say it.
Yep. And because partly we know that you can do this at any time because you was about to.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this time you're mad or sad about
you're
it. But
off, right. But
yeah, but what about next time? When it's not leaked before it's just thrown on me,
Mm-hmm.
So,
how close were they to getting lawsuits?
You'd think they would have to be in the works, but I mean, one of the problems with lawsuits is Hasbro. I mean, the people that are going to be hurt the most are the ones who can't afford to sue them.
Yeah.
Right.
And could probably never win, even if they did.
Because their lawyers would tie it up with all kinds of money and time that people just can't afford,
Right.
Yeah. It would be like suing Disney or Warner Brothers or something like that.
Yeah. That's what their team of lawyers is on retainer for.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were probably the beginnings of some starting, but I can't imagine they even got into the system yet.
Yeah.
And with it not fully taking effect, a lawsuit, you would have to prove damages. You'd have to prove that you somehow was damaged, whether financially or, something. You have to prove a loss. And right now, with just them talking about doing it, I don't know if anybody actually had a loss.
Right.
Unless they totally jumped the gun and, just quit everything. But, like Mikey had pointed out, there was a lot of people who came out and was like, well, here, use this instead. So there really shouldn't have been a lot of damages in this since it didn't completely go through.
Right. And the deal is the first sign of damage would probably have been when the new document became active. When Wizards of the Coast start sending out bills.
Yep.
Or okay, this is what you owe us now for this.
That's or when Wizards try to take someone's property from them. Because,
There's no way that ends
I've
well.
always been, you work for this person, it's their work because they paid for it. But in this case, that's not the case. They weren't working for them.
Right. They opened the door so that people could use their stuff without actually working directly for them. And the industry flourished because of it.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to...
And kept it relevant.
Mm-hmm.
You think Stranger Things would have picked up on it any at all if people wouldn't have already still kept it, going around and everything else?
Between Stranger Things and Critical Role, I mean, the game industry is in a renaissance because there's just so many people wanting to get into it and get involved. And right now, with the OGL the way it is, they can do that. You slam the door on the OGL, and that all falls apart.
Yeah.
I mean, they would hurt themselves way more than they realize. Because D&D would die.
It would.
It would be like closing off your own carotid artery.
Yep.
Not to get too medical on it, but
No, it's true. uh-huh. I thought it was a very ballsy move on their part. on their part when they announced that. Well, actually, it wasn't announced. It was leaked.
Right.
And I also thought it was cool that actual employees of Wizard were quitting, and they were like, look, these bastards are about to do this, So, hurrah for them. Thank you definitely for looking out for the community like that. And
those
to Hasbro, don't fuck with the birds.
Right. Don't.
We have numbers.
Don't piss off your customer base, guys. Come on. Don't do something that stupid, that big.
Yep.
You're gonna be stupid. Do it small.
Yep. I'll be curious how it bounces back.
Yeah, give it 6 months or a year, and be interesting to see how things look.
Yep. And I would also be curious at the new things that are now going to be made outside of that OGL. So maybe they did us a favor. Got people pissed off enough to create something new,
Yep.
We can hope.
Yep.
I'm glad for now it does have some kind of resolution, though.
Yeah, I think it was making a lot of people nervous.
Yeah. Well, didn't I tell you guys about Themora not even like a week before all this happened? They had did the same thing and tried to change their license. So people who bought a lifetime license were going to get lumped into like a subscription thing. And people were kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. We bought a lifetime license when you guys were nothing. We helped you get this product off the ground. And now all of a sudden you're no longer going to honor it. So they stuck to their guns for a little while, and then after the outrage and the podcasts and the YouTubes, it was kind of like, well, okay, we won't do this, but we do have to work on it. Which if they would have told the community that to begin with, cool. But the way they rolled it out, it was like when you go to upgrade, that's when they were telling you to pay again, with no word from them. Oh, we changed our license or anything. Until people started complaining. So, just if you're a greedy business owner, it's not going to fly nowadays.
Right. You need to be smart and set your stuff up at the beginning so that you don't have to backpedal and screw somebody over.
Yeah. And with pennies as tight as they are right now, people are watching,
Mm-hmm. It matters.
Yep. And, someone had said, well, what's the big deal paying the extra like $10 or whatever it was? And it was kind of like, well, because they told me, 5 years ago, I would never have to pay that $10. So that's the problem. It's not the actual $10, especially if you're making money from using the product. It's the ideal that you shaded me and didn't tell me,
Mm-hmm.
You surprised me with this. And now I'm pissed because you didn't have enough balls to face me and tell me. So yeah, these businesses are getting weird. So always, people, before you just scroll, check, yeah, I read it, really read what you're agreeing to,
People are not going to do that.
They'll change it one word and you're fucked, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I'll have to do a follow-up on that. See where Wizards goes after this.
Mm.
Okay, for my news item, it's kind of funny, kind of harkens back a little bit to our conversation we just had during the break. But it was announced last week, or it'll be almost 2 weeks by the time this comes down, that The Simpsons have been renewed for 2 more seasons through 2025.
Wow.
According to the article that the end of this season, the show will hit its 750th episode. And then after the next 2 seasons, and there's apparently several episodes that are already in the can as a reserve due to, anything happening where they get behind the schedule or something like that, that it will have passed the 800 episode mark.
That's a lot of episodes, especially for an animated show.
A lot of episodes.
That's wild.
Well, it's a long time for a TV show to stay around too.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It passed in 2018. It passed Gunsmoke as the longest running scripted primetime show.
Wow.
In 2018.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's now going to go on for another 3 years, at least 2 years.
Which started as what? Maybe a 2-minute comment or cartoon on Tracy Ullman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 minute maybe pushing it a little bit, but some
That's
of
the
2
same.
minutes, yeah.
It wasn't long, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it wasn't long at all.
No.
In the same announcement, they said that Family Guy has been picked up for seasons 22 and 23, and Bob's Burgers has been picked up for 14 and 15.
Dang.
I didn't realize it had been on that long.
I didn't realize Bob's Burgers had been on that long.
I didn't know it was still on. But I don't really pay attention to it.
They just had that movie come out. Phil watches that one. After the first couple of seasons, I mean, I love cartoons. I watch SpongeBob, But after a couple of seasons, it was just the same thing, Recycled stories and not much you can do from a burger joint, So I kind of lost it, but for some reason he likes it,
According to the article, Simpsons still continues to do really well in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic.
That's a big damn demographic.
That is.
Yeah. But it's funny because I'm not that. None of us are really. Well, you and me, Mike, are not that far removed from that demographic. I don't remember the last time I watched a brand new episode of Simpsons.
Oh, I don't watch a ton of TV on purpose
anyway. I don't either, but yeah.
We used to watch it all the time, and I don't know what season it was, but they had started talking about Marge and Homer getting a divorce, and I think they split up, and it was kind of like, you know what, this just isn't funny anymore. It's just,
Well, I mean, even when I was watching it, I was actually watching the syndicated, so I mean, I'm watching repeats. I'm not watching the new stuff. Only thing I may have watched was the Treehouse of Horror specials, but I hadn't seen those in forever.
See, I do watch those every year.
Yeah, they still do them, but
yeah, I know they still do them.
I haven't watched one in 10 years.
And now I think it's on Disney, and they have like all the Treehouse Horror episodes, so you can watch them all, or
So
that's funny.
I never thought it would be on Disney. As much shit as they gave Mickey Mouse on The Simpsons, I never thought I would see that.
Well, that's because Fox was the anti-Disney. I mean, come on.
Right. Right. So, I mean, congratulations to all involved. Cause
Sure.
That's
awesome. They still have jobs. It's great.
They still have jobs. Yep. So, And the people who still watch it, you got it. You got
Yep.
two more years of new content. Well, 3 because we're still
really
or 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it last year maybe? FXX bought this, or they got The Simpsons on their channel, and like for the first couple of months, that's all they did was play back-to-back Simpsons, starting from 1 to whatever they acquired. And now almost any given time, you can turn over to that channel and The Simpsons are on.
Yeah.
So they're just going to rename it The Simpsons channel at some point.
They should, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Quid you, Bo.
So. Alrighty. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
Not me.
Yeah.
Not here.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to our regular shout-outs. First off, I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture Podcast Network for letting us be part of a great group of fellow podcasters. Go to our show notes, and you can find a link to their page. Thank you, guys. We also want you to check out the fine men and women of Potter Family who've been kind enough to spread the word of the fellowship by retweeting our links on Twitter. And easiest way for you to check them out is to go to Twitter and do a search, #PotterFamily, all one word, and just scroll through whatever catches your attention. By all means, click on that link and download the episode. And I hope you have a good time and you've picked up another podcast to be a fan of. Thank you, guys, as always. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying music to our podcast. In our show notes, there will be a link to where you can check out their music. Thank you, guys. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website and go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form you can fill out. I did not mention this earlier, but we do have a Discord that you can join, and we do have a channel specifically for feedback, so you can put your thoughts there. Our Discord, we post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, fun stuff, videos, trailers, music, all that kind of stuff. So come join us today. There is a link on our homepage for that. Our social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. We're on Instagram @Fellowship Geeks. That is also our Twitter handle and our Hive social handle. Join us there. If you'd like to join our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found @FakeLesWebster. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review our show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Appreciate your listening, everybody. We do appreciate the support as always. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,